Hey y'all, do you love middle ground? I know I do. Did you know that every purchase made at the Jubilee shop helps fund this show? If you're looking for ways to support Jubilee and watch more episodes of Middle Ground, make sure you check out our merch at shop.jubileemedia.com. Honestly, every one of your purchases goes such a long way and we're so grateful for you. Now enjoy this episode.
Men are just as sacred as women. We are not more sacred. And so we should all either cover up or go bare-chested.
I'm Alexa, I'm pro-free the nipple, and I think that covering up the nipple is rooted in a lot of outdated concepts.
I want to ask the opposing side, beyond a biological perspective, what is the major difference between a man and a woman's nipple that makes it so drastic?
I'm August. I'm pro-free the nipple because I want to have the freedom to go bare-chested just like men can.
I'm anti-free the nipple movement because I think it adds to the objectification of women.
I'm against this movement because I think that the answer to our problem of sexualization is more than just allowing women to be topless.
Step forward if you agree. Nobody should be allowed to be shirtless in public.
I don't like telling people what to do, but I don't think it's necessary for anyone to be shirtless in public. I think there's a time and place for when you take off your clothes. In public, just out of respect for other people, like, I don't want to see a guy shirtless.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember I would sometimes walk to school growing up and all the track people would be running and the guys would always be running with the shirt off and I would get so annoyed. I don't really see a point in someone just walking around without their shirt or going into a store without their shirt, a guy or a girl.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
I mean, I don't think there's a need to go topless at any point. I think it's just more about convenience, especially if it's really hot out. I don't really want to be wearing a shirt, especially in New York where I live. It's really humid and stuff. I don't know, shirts are kind of uncomfortable in that context.
A man walking around shirtless in a grocery store is going to be weird regardless, and I think a woman doing that would be weird as well. But if a man goes with a shirt off on a beach and a woman were to do that, I think that should both be fine.
The context does matter, but as a whole, even if we do change society to be more free in that aspect, the core of these issues isn't going to change because, like in other countries, when they have a different mindset than we do, and the issues are still prevalent. The core of how crappy humans are or can be doesn't really change whether or not you allow people to be free or not.
It will. I absolutely believe that it will. And I think it's a very simple matter of obliterating misogynists, and that's not just men, but women who uphold misogyny, which comes from conservative thinking.
Why do you think that is? What makes you think that having that freedom is the answer?
Abrahamic religions have so much influence over the way we all have grown up, and our parents and their parents. And I'm going through my own cleansing process of things in my upbringing that came from my parents raising them, that trickled down into my raising my kids, that is harmful, absolutely harmful and disgusting and pathetic.
Breasts are inherently sexual.
Breasts are inherently sexual if the whole entire body is inherently sexual. A shoulder, the tip of a nose, even eyelashes, everything can become erogenous.
I totally agree with you of everything you said, but I think inherently they're not sexual. I do doula work, and so I care deeply about women's bodies and the nature of child rearing and childbirth. When we're born, hopefully people don't sexualize babies, and actually when I work with parents, I make sure that they don't objectify their child. I'm this is your child, they're not your mini-me, they're not yours to play with, they're not your doll, they're not your toy. They're their own person, and we should treat them with respect. I just don't think that inherently bodies are supposed to be sexualized. It's society and people who have sexualized the body.
Like I was in dance for a long time and I was like also in sports. So I just can't imagine like not being able to wear a sports bra when playing soccer. Like I just feel like that'll just cause a lot of discomfort. When it comes to like running and stuff, I feel like it would be harder to do those things without a sports bra.
Oh yeah,
like,
because you're
you
gonna
know.
be bouncing
Yeah,
everywhere.
like,
But still,
Do you mind
I
if
mean,
say something? I think that the answer isn't freeing the nipple and just letting everyone be liberated. I think the answer is that in your home, teach your child how to respect someone's body, how to respect themselves. And my mom might get mad at me for saying this, but like in my home, she was almost never dressed. She's super, super Christian. But at the same time, that should be in my home.
I guess more as appearance-wise, if we're talking free the nipple, I don't see the difference. I mean, I'll be candid, I've seen both male and female nipples before in my life, and I couldn't really tell a difference.
I will say on that though, I'm a transgender woman, so when I started transitioning, my nipples changed a lot. They became a lot more puffy, they became bigger, bigger areolas, and they became a lot more sensitive. I think part of the sexualization of female nipples is because of that it's like an erogenous zone as well. That's like one aspect of it.
Right.
So I will say like they are a bit different.
I think that women's bodies are really sacred and I don't feel like I need to take off my shirt to feel like equal to a man, if that makes sense, a biological male.
but I think it goes beyond even being equal to a man because we're now more than just men and women. I have a child who is recently identifying as non-binary. And just yesterday, I met a biological woman who was, she's had her breasts removed. I am augmented and lopsided. I want all of us, including you, to be able to just be free. Men are just as sacred as women. We are not more sacred. And so we should all either cover up or go bare-chested.
This movement will lead to more sexual attacks against women.
I hesitate a lot because I think part of this movement for me is to change that culture and to change the desexualization of the bodies. And I think with that increased desexualization, less attacks will happen. In New York, where I am, it's legal to be topless since 1992. So I take advantage of that quite often. But because of the sexualization of my nipples, I've been like harassed, been masturbated at, been like assaulted in other contexts. I'm not gonna be ignorant and say like that's not because of my nipples, but I'm also not gonna victim blame and say like I deserve that because I'm showing my breasts.
I agree. I think in some way it might be a matter of getting worse before it gets better, but we can't know that until we implement it more places. I have also been masturbated at by a neighbor. He did it twice. I would go out in my yard dressed from head to toe in what I call grubbies to do yard work. I was not looking cute. And yet my neighbor, he took a liking to it, a little too much of a liking, and so I lived in fear for a really long time. I was yelled at for breastfeeding also many, many years ago, and it shocked me and it made my infant cry.
Yeah.
And the man who got caught looking decided that he was mad that he got caught and said that I was disgusting and I was foul for showing my breasts in public.
I disagreed because if a regular person is walking by and a woman's topless, I don't think that someone who is not intending to do that, I don't think they're gonna just change their mind and go and attack someone. But I just thought about all the women who have been assaulted, who've been like fully clothed.
I definitely notice that when I am topless in New York, it's like people pay attention to me more. So I guess like me having my nipples showing like is not going to lead to me being assaulted, but it will lead to like more people paying attention to me and attracting all people, including those bad people.
We can't really say that anything more is going to happen because I think no matter what rules are in place, people are still going to be really horrible. But I do think it's going to take away the sacredness of the body.
I'm curious as to what your response to me would be when I say like people paying attention to me more because I'm topless and am perceived as a woman.
Being topless does draw attention and takes away from someone really getting to focus on who you are as a person and what you're able to offer besides your body. And that's not to say that like in my past, like I definitely wore suggestive clothing or I would be intentional about how I dressed because I wanted certain attention.
Did you guys see the Billie Eilish commercial when it was like a Calvin Klein commercial and she was like fully covered. I think she was wearing like a tracksuit and she talked about like objectifying and how she found it more empowering not to do like the stereotypical Calvin Klein commercial. Like the free the nipple and going topless is empowering, but I think also it can be empowering not to do that and to wear I don't know, like a t-shirt or a tracksuit.
I think to me, the free the nipple movement comes down to choice rather than like inherently showing that like this is liberating. Because it is really liberating for some people and it's really not liberating for other people.
I like to look at things from a historical perspective because like this has been done before. I think circa 1937, before then, men couldn't even show their nipples in public. They would protest on the beaches and they got arrested a bunch of times. It took a very long time until some judge was like, yeah, that's fine. And then here we are today.
It hasn't even been quite 100 years since then. So I was born in 1976. So in my 45 years on this planet, all I know is that I have not been able to be bare-chested and have even been yelled at for breastfeeding, but men always have been able to.
Children should not be exposed to nipples.
Someone who maybe grew up in a household where no one walked around shirtless, and then someone walks around shirtless in public, I feel like that might create a really big shock factor for the kid, or it might make the kid feel uncomfortable. I guess that's my like apprehension.
You say about like shock factor and stuff, I think to focus on that and to like prevent children from seeing nipples is to say like, to educate the children that like, oh, this is something bad, this is something I should not look at. And that only just perpetuates the sexualization again, like of nipples that I believe is not necessarily helpful. If a kid were to see like a nipple in public, it's like not the end of the world, and it's like actually helpful to like encourage that. And to me, like seeing a male nipple versus like a female nipple in public shouldn't make a difference about like how a child sees that.
I remember the first time I saw like a breast was in a book about like African tribes, and there were like women that were feeding their babies, and I was just like, what is this? And people did not explain to me what that was. And if I did see a nipple or I did see a naked body, what is unfortunate is that some people do push that down and just like, oh, we don't talk about that.
Just I guess I want to ask you guys a question regarding children, I guess. If we could find like some way to incorporate this free the nipple movement into sex education, especially at the elementary level, about consent and like what the body is, when it's okay to sexualize and when it's probably not okay, how would you feel about that, I guess?
I think sex education should be in the home. And I understand that some people don't have great parents. So from my private school experience, they did not talk about sex education in a healthy way. And so I think there is a problem. There does need to be developmentally appropriate conversation, but I really believe that that should be up to the parent.
Women's bodies are entitled to the same rights as men's bodies.
Yeah, so I think the notion of like a female body versus a male body as a transgender woman is very interesting. You know, for 18 years of my life, basically, I could take off my shirt and like be totally fine with that in the world. And I started hormones when I was in the closet, so I was like passing as male, and I had breasts, right? But I could still take my shirt off, and it's only once I started like being gendered as female that wasn't the case. And to me, that's very like ambiguous of like where I started passing as female, because passing and people perceiving me as female is such a, like an individual experience.
So I disagreed only because I don't like the wording of entitled. We're a very spoiled country.
Yes, we should all have equal opportunity, but like no one's entitled to show anything or do anything that they don't want to do. And so
Right.
I just didn't like that phrasing.
Let's say that we're getting closer to a point where seeing all people able to just walk around bare-chested. If that's going to be so weird that we go in the opposite direction and it's like, okay guys, you can't go shirtless anymore. Imagine the shock. They're going to be like, no way, you can't do that to me.
I've heard a lot in this conversation about stuff being fair, and the entitlement just really bothered me. Life isn't fair, society isn't fair, people aren't fair, but as a whole, I just don't think that the movement is the answer to the issue we have with this society crap.
That's a wrap.